I am late to the party, but for the sake of continuity and venting and getting my thoughts in order, here I am. I've got popcorn and I'm ready to watch and vent. Now, first, as a professional photographer and not so professional videographer, as very much not evidenced by this vlog, and someone who studied cinema in uni, I got a major kick out of them using the boat for the cold open. It's all so beautifully done. It's shaky and dynamic and precise and chaotic, and somehow everything a battle should be, especially a battle in those circumstances. I love it easily as much as the Matt and Rand sequence in episode 4. I know I'm biased both for Matt and Yael, but regardless, I think both those scenes are absolutely brilliant. And Magdalena is awesome. It's such a complex situation with so many warring emotions, fear, determination, pain, exhaustion, then surprise and gratitude and relief. And it's all so intense and she portrays it so beautifully. It's all over her face. And when it comes to her face, I am surprised about all the rage that came from her fighting unveiled. This is seriously the height of the nitpicky complaining from the book lovers. And I'm saying this knowing full well how some of you might hate me for it. First, let me say, I saw this scene at first with a completely different attitude. I saw it and I thought, yes, she's running away from her battle and removing her veil, signaling that she's not fighting anymore. And in my head, from that point on, every bastard who attacked her was the one that was at fault, not her. Because at war, you gotta know your enemy. You know what the veil means. So obviously not everyone would respect that, but they know, they attack her knowing what the veil being down means. But secondly, I just don't know how someone could see such a beautifully executed scene, so brutal and at the same time so tasteful and avoiding explicit gore. And it's an example of the most badass of warriors in action, and seeing her kick ass while in labor. And how can you be so pedantic that seeing all this, you should go, yeah, but she should have veiled herself. No, you warheads, they should have never attacked her. And that's excluding the sheer practicality of the fact that her being unveiled allows her to act more. And yeah, we get movies like Dunkirk with Tom Hardy, who for the whole movie we only see him with a mask on, but that's a full movie, and Magdalena has 3 minutes to convey so much. Come on. Also, I'll try to avoid book spoilers, but you don't fight with a veil on because they cannot otherwise. They're not robots, they don't need to click the final piece in place before they can initiate fight mode. It's a custom and part of the rules, and rules can be broken. And if I say anything else, it will be a spoiler, so I'm gonna shut up about it. Best cold open ever. And the Cadian Soar looks so close to what I imagined it, especially adapted for Wetlander weather. Now, I'm gonna be pedantic later. For now, let's start with the good stuff. And spoiler-free. Watching behind the scenes about making the set for the Waves was so cool, how they made the set flexible, adaptable, so they can film all of this, and it has the right atmosphere. It's grim and has flashes of light, so there are some visual dynamics and not just 10 minutes of complete darkness. It's depressing and scary, and the torchlight feels subdued, but it's not complete darkness. Matt's leaving and the following plot patchwork is something that irks me, but I'm determined to push through it and see what season 2 has to bring. For now, the gang's reactions are mostly spot on. Rand is quick-tempered, Egwene is harsh, Perrin is slow to anger and practical, and Nynaeve is the one who has to make the tough decisions and lead the kids. To be fair, book Nynaeve would have probably been so angry at Moiraine for not only not doing anything about it, but also not even talking about it. She probably would have lashed out with Saidar here and now. But let's say show Nynaeve has a better grip on her temper. In terms of the Amazon series alone, the Walk Through the Ways is doing a decent job of foreshadowing and establishing relationships, like Lan trying to ease Nynaeve's tension and calm her, and Rand and Egwene hugging while Perrin's shot in the background, and Nynaeve observing all of that. I love the whistling and the way the flashes of light reveal Pad and Fane lurking behind them, and I love the way the scene with the channeling against the Trolloc is executed and the reveal later on. I wish the scene with Machin Shin's taunts affected me more. There's potential in it, it says horrible things, but I think the way the scene is executed, it's a build-up for Nynaeve's next burst of power, and that's what I feel. I don't feel the oppression, I don't feel the wickedness for some reason. But I like that we see more of Moraine's doubts about throwing those kids' life away, because even if we don't look at it literally, even if she doesn't have to actively kill anyone to prevent them from turning to the shadow, she is still leading them somewhere where she firmly believes most of them will die. I wish we got more sense of real physical danger instead of the psychological bullying from Machin Shin, but I think his words are a decent enough way to set the foundation for everything that's going to happen during the episode. Feldara's design is great, and I like that it lets us see glimpses of Lan's past already in season 1, and I guess I'm with all the readers saying that I love Uno so far. I love the fact that Aguilmar greets Lan first. I know we see this before we know Lan's full story, but I think the gesture is great to show the respect and trust between Borderlanders, and I just love it. I also quite like Aguilmar's dark feathers ornamentation as a nod to Feldara's Black Hawk. Moiraine telling Amalisa to seek the Red Sisters against Matt is something that to me feels entirely out of character. She has shown some trust towards other sisters, and since healing Matt showed her that the darkness is not necessarily or not yet connected to channeling, the Reds make no sense. Yes, Liandrin is the one that knows about him and is probably better equipped to find him, but Liandrin is also evidently against everything Moiraine stands for, so anything Moiraine gives her she would use against her. And Moiraine playing into her hand like that, it feels wrong. I like the laughter we hear as Pad and Fane passes by the Yemenfielders, and I like the fact that Perrin is the one who noticed him. It's a further nod to his better side, so I like that. Nynaeve telling him the peddler is dead so categorically is another thing in the show I wish they didn't sound so firm about. Saying he's dead because he was there when the Trollocs attacked implies everyone there is dead, and we know that's not the case, and especially since Nynaeve was dragged away from the battle, she has no real way of knowing this. I don't know, I find it odd that the show builds so much doubt and uncertainty on certain points, and at the same time it stomps its foot down on certain things that don't necessarily need it. Words like probably and maybe and I don't know, they aren't taboo, are they? Moving on. I like Min, and I like her having scruples against sharing her visions with Moiraine, and that she shared all her visions with Rand only in person. I like the discretion and sort of loyalty it all implies. I like her habit of pouring drinks while she shares her visions. I think it's both a kind of natural habit she has, but at the same time, it implies that sharing her visions are something you should brace yourself for. And also, I think the times when she takes her drink are the times where she is lying about something, or the times where she is concealing something. Like the time when Moiraine asks her if any vision is stronger than the others. I don't like the fact that apparently her secret is known to the Aes Sedai in general instead of only Moiraine. I think this will have ripples along the way as the plot unfolds, but perhaps they have something in mind for it. And I loved Moiraine saying that they're both big and they both brood. It reminds me of Book Moiraine and how she was so tiny and at the same time had the presence to be still imposing in the company of tall, muscly men. That's something I've always loved in the books, and it's a cool trick that I don't think I've ever been able to pull off. As much as I don't like the certainty that everyone who goes to the eye of the world and is not the dragon is going to die, it does provide a very useful motivation for Rand to face the harsh truths and accept who he is. I like the visualization of him at first missing the arrows and then hitting the mark every time. Otherwise, I think one way to avoid blatant disregard of this claim that Moiraine repeats again and again would be if they don't meet the Dark One at the Eye, which is something I believe anyway. I mean, if we don't get the clash of two forces of nature, and we only get a battle between them and one or two of the Forsaken, then that may be reason enough to sidestep the claim that whoever stands between the Dragon Reborn and the Dark One will die, at least for now. Now, it's probably gonna be no surprise to anyone who's seen anything I've said so far that the teen drama between Rand and Perrin and Lan and Nynaeve is definitely not my favorite part of the episode. Yes, it does bring certain points full circle, like people suddenly realize why Perrin was at the Gwyn celebration and Layla wasn't, and it provides a very good explanation why everyone should go their separate ways. But yeah, not my favorite. It seems by now natural that Nynaeve should turn to Lan when she feels alone. Looking at it from the perspective of a show watcher, I think their scenes are sweet and warm, and there's a nice back and forth in him catching her, follow him, and challenging her for it. I think their story in the show is developed in a rather cliched manner, but we see the formation of their mutual understanding and the formation of their bond. I think some of their interactions feel stunted, and it's not just because they are reserved as people. But I will have a bit more to say in the spoiler field and possibly pedantic commentary. Now, part of me, having read through 7 books in which Lan and Nynaeve's love is unrealized, 7 books of frustration and pride and stubbornness, that part of me loves seeing them together. Because it's like seeing the tortured souls from the book finally get what they want, the warmth and the connection and just being together. But that's because I know that story, the story from the books. And that story is pure gold. Their interactions are frustrating, yes, they are two very different personalities pulling in very different directions. And when they aren't pulling in different directions, life is pulling them in different directions. And it took time for them to be able to cooperate with one another, but Their interactions in the books are possibly the most romantic bits there, and in the show we are getting none of that. We are getting some weak humor trying to ease the tension. We are getting some semi-forced, strained confessions of personal details. And finally we get the Arya and Gendry type of we are gonna die tomorrow, let's have sex now. And we get Nynaeve's boldness before she knows all there is to know about Lan. In the books, the same determination is there, but it's there only after she knows truly about who he is, about his never-ending battle with the Blight, about his certainty that he's going to die fighting this fight, and knowing that's the reason he doesn't give in to his feelings for her. And I think the show cheapens that somehow. It's just not the same story for me, and for someone who watches the show not having read the books, it just feels like there's nothing extraordinary about the two of them. It's just less. And if at some point the show goes back to the source and gives us one of those heart-wrenching dialogues saying Lan can't promise her anything because all he has to give is not good enough, or how he'll hate the man she chooses because it's not him and love him if he makes her smile, all of that. Now that will just look different after them getting together, after meeting the family of sorts, after them having formed this bond, and the trust that Nynaeve shows Lan in turning to him every time she feels alone or out of place or not okay in any way. I hate the way Moiraine is portraying Matt to be this dark figure, how inevitable it is that he would turn to the shadow and all the potential for evil he has. Since in the Amazon series she is the major knowledgeable voice, in the series alone that sounds truthful enough, and I don't know if I should hate the direction in which the show is taking his character, or if I should appreciate the suspense they're creating, or just be annoyed that his character building is going to be so inconsistent. I hate this because I love book Matt, and I don't know if we're gonna find our way back to him. Not to mention the fact that one of the animated shorts tells the story of the greatest warrior who was defeated by a villager with a staff, and that makes me think that perhaps we might not get Matt's fight with Galad and Gawain. And for the book readers who didn't initially like Matt, this is such a major turning point. I guess I can't handle the suspense. I want it now. And I know I'm not gonna get it. At least definitely not for now. But I guess my anticipation to see the showrunners bring to life the scenes I like goes to show that I'm truly into the show. So at least there's that. And I hate that it's Loyal that we see claiming absolutely certainly there is no other way to open the gate. I know the fact that we see Padon Fane in the ways and the trefoil leaf in his hands shows there's at least a partial nod to the lore from the books, and they have left a door open to fix this later on. It seriously annoys me that Loyal is so adamant that there's no other way to open the gate. Yes, him being afraid of Machishin and warning them about it makes sense, and they have to explain somehow why they can't go back for Matt, but Loyal is humble as hell. He's so modest about his knowledge and abilities. It would have made perfect sense for him to simply say he doesn't know another way. A cool detail for me is the fact that Min took a drink while she was talking about Rand holding a baby. The baby seemed dark-haired, and since Rand and both his parents are redheads and his both other girls are light-haired, I think it could have only been Min's baby, and I think that's a sweet detail. I also like the fact that she concealed some information regarding him from Moiraine. I think it's nicely setting up Min's loyalty to Rand, even from this early stage, whether it's because of her visions and what she knows about their future, or that he has an immediate effect on her. Either way, it's nice and I like it. And also the fact that she does it by also seemingly not to give one shit. The one thing I didn't like about her was the lack of answer when he asks if he would return from the eye of the world, and more like the fact that she doesn't say anything even after he assumes he wouldn't. It makes sense for the show to create this tension, but for her to not saying anything at all, not so much. Another cool detail I like is I think we get more of Perrin's nose acting in times when the emotions are running wild. The only thing I liked in the teen drama scene was that I like that they're setting it up this early. My guess is Lan didn't realize the bond being masked because he assumed Moiraine masked it for his privacy, but I wonder which decision came first. I wonder if Lan and Nynaeve's night together wasn't written in just to justify splitting the party without Lan and the rest figuring out. I know it's not true to the books, but I quite like this version of the Blight. I think it works well to provide this visual boundary, and it gives a very distinct impression of creeping forward with its spidery trees, I guess. I don't know if Min's secret being common knowledge and Moiraine sending a message to the Reds format and the explicit development of the Aes Sedai and Warder bond in the whole season, and the sort of blessing she gives Lan by saying she likes Nynaeve. I don't know if all of this isn't foreshadowing Moraine's death much earlier than expected. That and Min's vision about the Amerlin, my first thought about it was that it probably wasn't meant for Siuan, that the Amerlin in full regalia could be another Amerlin. But it's also possible that it's another foreshadowing that the Amerlin insisting on Moiraine going to the Eye at this point would turn out to be a trap and ends in her death, especially considering that in the behind-the-scenes clip they say that not everyone would return from the Eye. The only thing I have against this theory is that Siuan wasn't wearing her regalia when she says this to Moiraine. On the whole, it's an episode I quite like, but again, mixed feelings all over the place, and I can't wait to see how they wrap up the whole thing. Tell me in the comments what you think.